Okay, picture this. It's February 2nd, 2026. Elon Musk has just pulled off what might be the single most insane corporate move in history, and pretty much nobody saw it coming. We're talking about a deal that doesn't just shuffle his own companies around, it's a massive bet that could completely rewrite the future of technology itself. Just let this number sink in for a second. $1.25 trillion. I mean, to give you an idea of how huge that is, that's more than the entire yearly economic output of countries like Switzerland or Saudi Arabia. This isn't just some big valuation, it's a statement, a declaration of intent on a planetary scale. So what is this number, really? Well, it's the combined worth of a brand new private super company. It was made by literally smashing together SpaceX, the giant in rockets and satellite internet, with xAI, Musk's super ambitious AI company. But this isn't just about grabbing more power. No, this is about betting the entire house on a wild, almost science fiction level idea, putting the future of AI not here on Earth, but up in space. And, as we're about to find out, some pretty major players, yeah, I'm talking about Tesla's public shareholders, might have just been left holding the bag. So here's the play-by-play. SpaceX, which was already this $800 billion monster, basically swallowed the AI startup xAI whole, which, by the way, was given this jaw-dropping $230 billion valuation in the deal. And the results of this are just wild. Grok, Musk's answer to ChatGPT, now part of SpaceX, and somehow even weirder. X, the platform we all still call Twitter, is now officially owned by a rocket company. Just let that marinate for a second. A global social media network is now a tiny division of a space exploration and defense contractor. But the story gets even crazier when you see where xAI got its startup cash. Okay, so here's where things get really, really messy. The Tesla connection. Just 3 weeks before this whole merger was announced, Tesla, the publicly traded car company, poured $2 billion into xAI. Now, shareholders were told this was a strategic move, for self-driving tech. Made perfect sense, right? Except that's not what happened. That $2 billion was just converted into shares of the new private SpaceX company. So cash from a public company got funneled directly into Musk's private empire, where public shareholders now have exactly zero say, zero voting rights, and zero control over that money. And you better believe this move has already triggered a firestorm of shareholder outrage and lawsuits. So, what's the big idea here? What grand vision could possibly justify a move this massive, this controversial? Well, this isn't just about moving money around. Musk is pitching a truly radical, almost sci-fi solution to one of the biggest problems the entire tech industry is facing, and he calls it orbital compute. So the core idea here is that AI is basically hitting a physical wall down here on Earth. I mean, training these next-gen AI models takes a truly insane amount of electricity. We're talking gigawatts, enough to power whole cities. And these giant data centers create so much heat that you spend almost as much money cooling them as you do powering them. So what's Elon's big idea? Just sidestep Earth's limits completely by moving the data centers into space. And this is where we see this huge gulf between the amazing pitch and the brutal reality of engineering. The pitch sounds great, right? In orbit, you get solar power 24/7, no clouds, no nighttime. The vacuum of space gives you free cooling. Musk even says that in a few years, space will be the cheapest place to train AI. But here's the reality check. Cooling something in a vacuum is actually incredibly hard. You can't use fans, you can't use water, you have to radiate the heat away with these enormous, really heavy radiator panels. And the logistics? They're just staggering. To pull this off, Musk says he needs to launch 1 million tons of hardware into orbit every year. That would mean a Starship has to launch every single hour. Just for some perspective, in the entire year of 2025, SpaceX launched a total of about 3,000 tons. The scale-up he's talking about is just, it's almost impossible to imagine. Okay, let's follow the money here because the numbers tell a really fascinating story. It's a tale of two completely different businesses getting slammed together. On one side, you've got an absolute cash printing machine, and on the other side, you've got a cash-burning furnace. You see, the absolute key to this whole merger, the thing that makes it all possible, is Starlink. It's become this global internet service, a financial engine that's churning out somewhere between $2 and $5 billion in profit every single year. That's the money machine. Now, look at xAI, the money furnace. It is reportedly burning through $1 billion every single month. That's $12 billion a year in losses, which just completely dwarfs Starlink's profits. And this has led a lot of people to argue that this merger is less about a grand vision and more about a desperate need for cash. And if you look a little closer at xAI's numbers, the picture gets even more wild. In the third quarter of 2025, it brought in just $88 million in revenue, and yet it was valued at $230 billion for this merger. That gives it a revenue multiple of around 500x. That basically means the company was valued at 500 times its annual sales. That's a number that's just insane even for the AI bubble, especially when you remember its main product, Grok, has maybe 30 million users, while its biggest competitor, ChatGPT, has hundreds of millions. A lot of people are saying this merger is basically a bailout, using Starlink's steady cash to prop up a flailing AI company. So let's be crystal clear about what happened here. SpaceX, the crown jewel, isn't just absorbing some hot new AI startup. No, it is taking on a whole portfolio of massive financial problems. It's absorbing xAI's billion-a-month bonfire of cash. It's absorbing X, a social media platform that's been struggling. And on top of all that, it's absorbing the $13 billion in debt left over from the Twitter buyout back in 2022. All of this is now sitting on SpaceX's books, right when it's supposedly getting ready for the biggest IPO in history. Okay, so let's zoom out from the balance sheets and look at the massive geopolitical headaches this merger is creating. By mashing together a critical defense contractor, an AI company, and a global communication platform, Musk is basically walking right into a geopolitical minefield. And you can bet that powerful people in both Washington and Beijing are watching every single move he makes. And the heat is already starting right here at home. In Washington, some really powerful people are starting to ask some very pointed questions. Senator Elizabeth Warren is out there publicly asking if Musk's old advisory jobs in the government helped his AI company, xAI, fast-track a $200 million defense contract. Now that Grok is part of a major military contractor, the lines between what's commercial tech and what's defense tech are getting super blurry, and that is attracting a lot of attention that Musk probably doesn't want. And this brings us to what might be the biggest, most fundamental conflict at the very heart of Musk's empire. On one hand, you have SpaceX becoming more and more critical to the U.S. military and intelligence agencies. China sees Starlink as a direct military threat. Their military is openly talking about how to destroy the network. But on the other hand, you have Tesla, which is incredibly dependent on China for both sales and manufacturing. So as SpaceX gets cozier with the Pentagon, Tesla's entire business in China becomes this massive liability. And this might be the real strategic reason why Tesla was kept separate from this whole deal, to try and create a firewall to keep the car company looking civilian in the eyes of Beijing. So all of this, all of these moves, all this controversy, it's all building towards one single massive event, the planned IPO in June of 2026. And this isn't just any IPO. People are already calling it the super IPO, and it is the endgame for this whole crazy plan. The target valuation they're aiming for with this public offering is $1.5 trillion. If they pull it off, it would be, by a huge margin, the biggest IPO in human history. They're trying to raise over $50 billion in a single day. That would absolutely shatter the old record held by Saudi Aramco. All the big names on Wall Street, we're talking Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, they're all lining up to get a piece of this deal. The bet is that the chance to own a single company that combines space launch, satellite internet, and cutting-edge AI will just be too good for investors to pass up. So let's be really clear about what's happening here. Elon is splitting his empire into two very different buckets. You've got the new super company, SpaceX, xAI, and X, which is about to become this publicly traded growth engine, all focused on the future of space, AI, social media, and defense. And then there's Tesla, which is being left as its own separate public company focused on cars, robots, and batteries. And for a lot of investors, it's starting to look like Tesla is being set up as the legacy company, while all the really explosive future growth is being packed into this new thing. But let's be real, getting to this historic IPO is not a slam dunk, not even close. The road ahead is absolutely littered with massive risks. Antitrust regulators like the FTC are already sniffing around, worried about how much power this one company would have. The whole story is incredibly fragile. A single bad Starship explosion could destroy investor confidence overnight. The lawsuits from those angry Tesla shareholders about that $2 billion transfer, they're already happening. And that geopolitical time bomb with China could go off at any second and just blow up the whole deal. So in the end, this whole multi-trillion-dollar gamble really just comes down to one single question. Is orbital compute a real thing? A genius solution to AI's energy crisis that will kickstart a new space economy? Or is it just the most expensive, most elaborate science fiction story ever told? The biggest vaporware bubble since the dot-com crash. I mean, the basic physics makes sense. There's tons of solar power in space. A vacuum is cold. But the engineering challenges, the logistics, they are just off the charts enormous. and we are all about to find out which one it is. And finally, we're left with this, the name that Musk himself has supposedly given to this whole grand project, the sentient sun. I mean, it's an epic, almost mythical name, isn't it? It paints this picture of a future where we look up at the sky and see not just satellites, but the solar-powered brain of human civilization orbiting right above our heads. If he's right, it's going to change everything. And if he's wrong, well, it's going to be the most spectacular corporate failure in the history of the world.